fishing license and all that?
Yeah, I got all that stuff.
Okay, can I see it?
Yeah, no. If you look at the 379, no, hear me out. Under the 379 statutes, if you actually read 379, it pertains to Fish and Wildlife Commission officers. I do have a valid fishing license, and I'm clearly going fishing. Under 901-151, unless you suspect me of a crime, have committed a crime, or about to commit a crime.
Okay, so
you're standing by the water, legally fishing. You've shown your license. You've done everything right. Then a uniformed officer approaches and demands your ID. You ask, "Am I being detained or am I free to go?" The officer refuses to answer. Tension escalates. The officer blocks your camera. He refuses to identify himself. You're calm, you know your rights, but this interaction spirals. What happens next could impact every citizen's right to film and refuse identification when not suspected of crime.
What up, dude? Man, I get it. Yeah.
You got your ID and your license and all that?
Yeah, I got all that stuff.
Okay, can I see it?
Yeah, no. If you look at the 379, no, hear me out. Under the 379 statutes, if you actually read 379, it pertains to Fish and Wildlife Commission officers. I do have a valid fishing license, and I'm clearly going fishing. Under 901-151, unless you suspect me of a crime, have committed a crime, or about to commit a crime.
Okay, so I have had numerous calls
That's
from
fine.
concerned citizens.
Right.
Okay? So at this point, right now, all I'm trying to do is just identify you.
You don't have...
Listen. And then after that, you're on your way. I understand, you know.
But I have to be...
Listen.
There has to be a crime, man. I'm not trying to be hard about this. They run my name across the state of Florida. Obviously, I'm the guy that goes around the state of Florida doing this. You know what I mean? Like, I do this. Like, this is what I do. I'm not breaking the law. And under the law, 901-151, I'm not reaching for anything, but I'm going to gladly show you. It's just a cigarette. I don't litter. See how good I am? See how I'm not trying to break any laws?
You're good, dude.
I get it, dude.
I'm not out here saying that, you know, you are.
Fishing, those are all the dates.
Can I see it?
Under Florida law, I've just done you a solid by saying, here's my fishing license. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to run my name through David, NCIC, FCIC, all those other databases that pertain nothing to do with my fishing license. Nothing. Right now, if we're questioning my fishing license, which I clearly have, you can call FWC and they can come out and check it. Because right now, all I'm doing is trying to go fish into that park right down the road here, like right at the end of this block. And that's all I'm doing is just going fishing, man.
Okay. All right.
I'm not.
What's your name?
My name's Mike.
Mike what?
My name's Mike, and it's nice to meet you, bud. Unless you suspect me of a crime, but if you suspect it, then I'll gladly give you everything you're entitled to, unless you suspect me of it. If you don't suspect me of it, I would just like to kind of go on my day and just move about. And like I said, I have no ill will towards anybody. Obviously, they don't understand the law, and you understand the law better than they do. But right now, I'm just saying, hey, I'm just going fishing. I've got a valid fishing license. I have no qualms about giving my fishing license to the right authority, which, once again, under the 379.354, which is the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, it's their statute, basically. And I'm not reaching for nothing. .379 statutes, Florida. Right here. I wasn't joking. It says 379 statutes, fish and wildlife conservation. And that's why I say the 379 statutes.
But there's also a Florida statute,
right,
the 790,
right,
which
.053 790. Yeah, I know the 790s.
You know, talks about the same thing. Okay.
Right.
So,
what part of 790 does fishing include at any point? You tell me where the 790s and the three.
Solejacker is approached by a law enforcement officer while legally walking with fishing gear and an open-carried firearm. The officer claims to have received multiple calls and immediately attempts to demand identification. Solejacker asserts his right under Florida Statute 901.151, which clearly states that ID can only be requested when a person is suspected of committing, having committed, or about to commit a crime. No specific crime is alleged. This is a public space, not a traffic stop, and no articulable suspicion is presented, raising concerns under the Fourth Amendment. The officer's intent to run Solejacker's name through databases like DAVID, FCIC, and NCIC without cause further signals potential police overreach. Solejacker, calm and legally informed, refuses to provide ID in an act of lawful ID refusal. This interaction is a textbook example of citizen rights versus ungrounded police authority. Viewers are advised, always ask if you're being detained, cite the statute, and document the encounter.
79 statutes with my fishing license, because right now I'm actually expressing 790.053, which actually would be illegal in the state of Florida unless I was following 790.25 section 3 subsection H, which I am.
With the fishing.
Correct.
Correct.
Right now.
So with that part, the 790 that we just talked about.
Correct.
That's what gives us.
It does not.
But it does.
I have to break the law. I would have to break 790.25 or 790.053 or 790.06. Like, I'd have to break one of those statutes in under 901-151. What crime am I committing?
So, and it doesn't have to be a commission of a crime. It can be the investigation.
You can investigate all you want.
But listen, at this point, for us, this is a suspicious person call.
But suspicion isn't until you came out here, and I'm telling you I'm going fishing. So we've just dispelled the suspicion part now. We're past suspicion. I'm not suspicion because the person that called, suspicious person. You come out here, you meet me, I'm going fishing. The suspicion part is now over.
Okay, but
right?
Listen, what I'm saying is the suspicion part isn't over for me, because how do I know that you're allowed to carry? How do I know that you're not a convicted felon?
Florida,
you're not supposed to be
Florida
with a firearm.
Here, I can pull up a case law for you. It's called Florida versus JL, State versus JL. The guy was a convicted felon. He had a firearm on him, left it in the back of an Uber, and when they went through the whole court proceedings, they threw it out because there was no suspicion of a crime. They didn't have the right to identify him because they didn't know if he'd broken a law yet. That's the key thing about 901-151. State versus J.L.
Look that up. Show that to him. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. I'm not going anywhere. Right there. Asserts that the police officer did not have the requisite reasonable suspicion to justify a stop or frisk, that consequently the seizure of the firearm was unconstitutional. See what I'm saying? Like, this is the federal case law. This came straight out of Florida. It actually came out where I live. I know about this case law, and the only reason I know about this case law is because these are very pertinent to my constitutional rights. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be a hard butt about this. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. But what I am saying is that I am lawfully doing what by law to a T right now. And unless I am suspected of a crime, you can't ID me, man. Like, I literally have a fishing license valid. It's valid till July of this year. I'm going fishing, I'm going crabbing. This is what the net's for. You know, like, I'm not trying to give you guys a hard time. I'm really not. But, you know, I deal with this on a daily. Like, this is what I do. You know, I'm sure you've seen the YouTube channel, right? Yeah,
I'm aware of several of them.
Yeah, it's 90% of them are me, man.
Oh, yeah. Did you build that?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Thank you.
Side charges, right?
Yeah, it's a very rare one, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little short, but you know, at first when I first got it, the blast was like, oh my gosh, and I found a muzzle device that's going to help with the blast, but I think it's going to push back a lot of some of the dust because it's so short.
I got to 8.5 before, and it was ridiculous. The muzzle flash was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like,
Yeah.
See the guy in the black pickup truck down there?
yeah. He was. Yeah, that's the one that was following me. That person right there was following me and just taking pictures. I was just walking, you know, waving to people. Like I'm a friendly guy, dude. And like
people just don't see it very much around the town, so they're gonna.
I know, and I get it, and I totally like for them to call. I get it, and then that's where I would say the education half for me. If I could talk to them and say, hey, what I'm doing is legal, you know, and whenever I meet people, I'm like, hey, under this statute, you're allowed to do this. And that's the education that I do on my channel, is to try to say, hey, not everybody has a concealed weapons permit. You know what I mean? And that's why I started doing this. I was almost robbed while I was fishing. It was 2, 3 in the morning. 2 guys walked down on me, screaming stuff at me, saying they wanted my money. And all I could do was swing my fishing pole at them and run. That's how I got myself out of that situation. Now, if they would have had knives, guns, or whatever, and my gun was in the car when I was fishing, and I was scared to openly carry. I was scared to do it, and ever since that day, I was like, you know, guess what? If I'm scared to protect myself, I should stop caring about other people's feelings. I was more concerned about people's feelings at the beginning. Like I knew that people would get scared by the sight of a gun.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, you know, I'm like, I was if, and but about it, and then I was like, you know something? My life is worth more than people's feelings. You know, the same oath that you took to swear and uphold to defend my rights. You know, this is my right to do this. And, you know, I'm not trying to give you guys a hard time about any of this.
I know. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You're good.
Like, yeah, if you are,
Okay,
I'm like, I'm literally gonna be right up here at the end of the block,
Yeah.
right at the thing, and I think there's fishing there. I don't know 100% yet until I usually get to where I'm going fishing. If there's a sign that says no fishing, I'll just be.
There used to be one. I'm not sure.
If there is a sign there that says no fishing and I see it, I'm turning my butt around and I'll go right back to my car and I'll be done. But like I said, I'm pretty sure there's fishing. People told me there's fishing over here, so.
Yeah, people have been out here fishing.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I think we're good. All right. I don't see them. Hey, how you doing? Yeah. They were taking pictures.
Officer identity remains unclear, but the conduct displayed deserves a grade of C+ marking. While the encounter did not escalate to violence, the officer showed a lack of legal clarity and failed to respect Solejacker's lawful ID refusal. In contrast, Solejacker earns a solid A, demonstrating calm, legal awareness, and an ability to educate through action. Key laws referenced include Florida Statute 901.151, 790.253, and 379.354, alongside Florida VJL and protections under the Fourth and First Amendments. The lesson is clear. If you're not suspected of a crime, you are not legally obligated to provide ID. Record everything, stay composed, and assert your rights. ID refusal isn't confrontation, it's constitutional literacy in action. For more real-world breakdowns of ID refusal encounters, subscribe to our channel ID Refusal and support the original creators like Solejacker, Honor Your Oath, and James Madison Audits. Stay informed, stay lawful, and stand your ground peacefully.